Now Frederick had a new job. The abolitionists asked him to come work for them. They hired him to travel around the northern states and make speeches against slavery. Frederick's story was exciting, but he was not well known. At first, only a few people came to hear him speak. One morning, there were only 5 people in the meeting hall. Frederick began to speak anyway, but first he opened a window. Frederick's voice was loud and clear. It carried through the open window and into the street outside. People began to stop and listen. Many came inside. Before Frederick was finished speaking that day, the hall was packed with people. Frederick traveled from town to town throughout the northern states. He made many friends for the abolitionists. He made enemies, too. Slavery was not allowed in the northern states. It was against the law. But many people were prejudiced against Negroes anyway. They thought Negroes were not as good as white people. Frederick met this prejudice in many places. Too often he saw signs that read, "No Negroes allowed." On trains he had to ride in special cars for blacks. These cars were called Jim Crow cars, and they were always dirty and uncomfortable. "Dogs and monkeys can ride first class," one of Frederick said bitterly, but not Frederick Douglass. On ships there was another rule. No matter how hot or cold or stormy it was, blacks had to stay out on deck or ride below with the baggage. One rainy night a sailor came up to him. "Are you an Indian?" he asked. Frederick knew that Indians could ride inside. He knew that all he had to do was all he had to do was lie, and he could go inside where it was warm and dry. "No," Frederick Douglass said proudly, "I am a nigger." Prejudice wasn't the only trouble Frederick faced in those early years as an abolitionist speaker. Frederick was a wonderful speaker. He could make people laugh one minute and cry the next. But some people were beginning to say that Frederick Douglass spoke too well. He used too many big words, they said. Maybe he was lying. Maybe he had never been a slave at all. How can I prove I am telling the truth? Frederick wondered. He could think of only one way. Frederick sat down and wrote his autobiography, the story of his life as a slave. He told his real name, Frederick Bailey. He named the places where he had lived as a slave. He told the name of the man who still owned him, Thomas Auld. The book was published in 1845. It was a great success. Everyone was reading it, even Thomas Auld. Now he knew where to find Frederick. He sent slave catchers after him. "Run, Frederick, run, hide. The slave catchers are coming. They are coming to get you tonight." Where could he hide? Frederick was now a famous man. He was the most wanted runaway in the United States. No place in America was safe for him. He would have to leave the country. Frederick kissed his wife. He hugged his children. And late one night he got on board a ship to England. Many people in England had read his book. Now they came to hear him speak. For almost 2 years, Frederick traveled across England, Scotland, Ireland, and Wales, talking about the wrongs of slavery. He made many new friends. "Send for your family and stay with us," his friends said. "You will be safe here for the rest of your life." It was true. Slavery was not allowed in England. Almost 50 years before Frederick was born, an English judge had made a rule. Any slave who sets foot on English soil became a free man. But England was not his home. Frederick longed to return to America again. Frederick's English friends wanted him to stay with them. But even more, they wanted him to be happy. So they got together and raised a great deal of money. Part of it they sent to the Aulds of Maryland to buy Frederick's freedom. Then they gave the rest of the money to him. For the others, they said, to help the ones who were still not free.